Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Marty here at Fly on the Wall, and it's been a while since I made a video, and it's probably because I've been busy trying to create presets for Serum 2, and I've finally released my first preset pack on the website, which I'll put a link in the description. If you follow that, you'll see it there, and you can purchase it if you'd like to. It's all Afro melodic house presets, and there's also the opportunity there for one-to-one tutoring online if you require that. So I'll just move on to what this video is about. It's all about sidechaining and why you use sidechaining in not just electronic music, but any form of music. And the reason why I use it is basically volume ducking. That's all it is. It's just moving it out of the way, moving different frequencies out of the way to give space to other more important frequencies. So things don't clash, your mix doesn't get muddy. And yeah, so I'll just dive into that, and it's better me showing you than sitting here trying to explain it to you, but I will explain it as I'm going through it. So let's just dive in. Okay, so the first um, process that I'm going to look at using is the Ableton stock plugin compressor. And for sidechaining, what I've said before is that you wanted to just duck certain frequencies um, so that you can make room for other more important elements. So mainly you'll hear about people talking about their kick and bass relationship, and what you want to do is you want the bass to duck to allow the kick to shine through. And simply to do that, you just grab the compressor. I'll go here just to the audio effects so you can see where I'm taking it from. Go to dynamics, choose the compressor, and then you want to drag that onto the channel that you want to duck. So I don't want to duck the kick on every quarter beat, because then there wouldn't be any. Um, I'll just show you what would happen if I put the LFO tool on. All right, that's what would happen because it's playing on that one. So if you want to put that onto the bass line, here's the bass line before, and you play them together. That low end of that kick, and this is going to become more apparent if you listen with headphones in. That low end of that kick is clashing with that bass, and you can see that by looking at the EQ spectrum down here. We'll pull this node over to here, which is at 46 hertz or in around that. You look at the kick, it's in around the same area, and this is why you've got clashing. You don't want your low end frequencies to be clashing because they're so strong and so powerful, and there's a lot of energy in that area. It's not so bad with the higher frequencies, but it's definitely cause for problems. So to do that, to duck the bass out of the way, grab the compressor, drag it onto the bass channel so we can duck that, and you'll see whenever I play, nothing's going to happen because anything I affect is happening from the channel here. So this arrow, if you click that, it opens up the extra options for sidechain, and you want to turn that on, and you want the audio from, in this case, I've renamed it kick one so that it's easier to see on here. Kick one, choose that. So now the signal coming from the kick is what's going to, every time the kick plays, it's going to duck in volume. But the reason it's not doing it now is because I haven't pulled the threshold down. So now we're getting that pumping feeling. So you want to sharpen up the attack, and you'll see that the compressor starts acting very quickly then. So, and you want to just drag that down and allow the kick to play. You have a bit more space there now, but it's not exactly where I want it. So I'm going to use this sidechain trigger, and all it is, it's a sharper transient, and it's playing on exactly the same time that the kick plays on the every quarter note. And you'll see why whenever I change this to sidechain trigger, which is this channel. Look how sharp that is now. And that sounds a lot cleaner now. And you know, people, there's various different ways of doing sidechaining. You've got your compressor, you've got your Shaperbox, your LFO Tool, Kickstart, all these fancy plugins. Essentially boils down to one thing. The only thing that you're going to be doing is ducking volume. It doesn't matter what plugin you're using. Don't think that you need to go out and pay for. I know I shouldn't really take that away from people who are trying to sell plugins, but if you can't afford it at the time, then just use that. And then when you have a bit of extra cash, then go ahead and get LFO Tool, which is what I'm going to move on to now. So the next plugin that I want to look at, and it's one that you've probably already seen before, is the LFO Tool, and it's by X4 Records. I think it's Steve Duda, who the same guy who done Serum and Serum 2, has created this plugin. So the beauty of this plugin, and I'm going to use it on the piano, just so it's more apparent, so you can hear it better, if you're not wearing headphones. So I'm just going to drag it and drop it onto the piano channel. Oh, sorry, without. And you don't have any pumping effect. And then when I turn this on, I'm going to put it all the way down. So this means the volume's going to duck right down to 0. Or it's not turned on. You don't want that to go all the way down. And also you'll hear a bit of a click, and that's just because the volume's dropping so fast. It's almost like when you turn your speakers on and the volume just comes on really quickly, you'll get a bit of a pop. So to just counter that, just drag that back a little bit and smooth it out. So it's kind of essentially what it's doing is just smoothing that out, but you want it near the end, a bit back, and that click is gone now. But with the piano, you don't want it to drop down right down to 0. For a bass line, yeah, that's probably possible, but that's more along the lines of it. But also, and you can do this with the Ableton stock compressor as well. I'm just going to show you on here first. If you turn this split band on, anything below whatever this frequency number is here is what's going to be affected. So if it's all the way up and it's turned on, you're still gonna hear it because it's affecting all the frequencies. So if you look, I'm just gonna turn this so we can see the whole frequency spectrum. So the sound doesn't really start until around 1.7. So nothing's gonna happen. There's gonna be no ducking happening until this is like 1700. Or sorry, my bad. When it's down here, there's going to be no ducking happening because it's not affecting any of the frequencies. Now it's affecting all of the frequencies, but I only want it to affect anything below, say, like 400, and not that much either. I'm just going to move over to the bass and I'm going to drop it on there. Again, I'm just going to pull that back so that's not going to have that click anymore. And I'm going to play the kick, the bass and the piano, and you'll hear a pumping effect going on, and it's going to sound a lot cleaner. And the one last thing I'll show you with the LFO tool, I'm going to drag that the whole way down. I'm going to duplicate that channel with Control and D. I'm going to just solo that one, close that down, and I'm going to render it to audio. So freeze that track, and then I'm going to flatten it, and it's going to give you a visual representation of what it's going to look like. So that's actually what's happening. So the volume's ducked right down to here, and that's every quarter beat. So that's what it looks like. And if you do the same with the piano, you'll see that it hasn't ducked down to 0. Just duplicate that and freeze the track and then flatten it. You can see that hasn't dropped all the way down to 0 the same way that the kick has here. It's down at 0. But this isn't. But it has dropped in volume. As you can see, these two transients are different. So that's basically it for the LFO tool, which has many other uses, but we're only really covering Sidechain. It also does transgates and different things like that. So we'll just move on to the final plugin I want to look at. So the final plugin that I want to look at is Shaperbox 3 by Cable Guys, I think it is. By the way, none of these guys sponsor me or anything like that. It's really just the tools that I do use. So whenever you drag that in, you're going to notice it's a similar process to using the LFO tool. You bring it in, but nothing's actually happening right now. So again, I'll go to using it on the piano because it's more audible for those who are not using headphones. So currently nothing's happening. So what you want to do is you want to go to the volume. You can see here it says sidechain because that's what you want to do, sidechain ducking. Click the sidechain button and it'll open with this preset of that's the shape the volume's going to follow. So and they've already pulled this back a little bit so that there is no click. Similar to how I showed you on this with the split band. So only frequencies below this number, if you have it on this, the low pass setting, is what will be affected. Similar to that, on this one, anything within the yellow line is what's being affected. So you can see the number here. You probably want it in around, you don't want the low frequencies to be flashing, so kind of put it in around whatever, 200 or below that. You're not getting much of a pumping effect, but it is cleaning up the lower end. And you can change the shape if you like. You just double click there and you can move things around. But you can also choose one of these presets down here. I'm just going to open that up. And you can make your own as well. So if we just move this around. There we go. And that's that saved. And every time you come in, you can just sort of do whatever it is. And the depth is just like a dry wet knob, basically. Nothing's happening. All the way, something's happening. So, and that's similar to the depth within LFO tool, does exactly the same thing. So that's the main use that I wanted to cover for sidechaining, in especially the context of the kick and the bass. It's going to make your mix a lot cleaner. It's going to really, really help push through that kick. But there are different ways that you can use it. Again, if you have a vocal, and I'm not going to sort of just overthink this, I'm just going to pull in any vocal and just see. That'll do. And insert an audio track, mute that track, just drop it on there. And if we bring in a guitar, And just this will do. Now they're not going to be in key. I'm just trying to show you. Is in D sharp minor. I'll just put it in key actually. There you go. So what I want to happen here is I want the vocal to be in the front. So what I can do is I can take the compressor, the Ableton stock compressor from the Dynamics, drag that in, and I want to duck the guitar when the vocal's playing. I'm just going to drop it onto the guitar channel, turn the sidechain on, and that one is vocal. I'm just going to rename that vocal so it's easier to find. And this is why it's important to rename your stuff. Vocal, there it is. Now notice what happens when I pull the threshold down. And I'll really emphasize it so that you can hear it. And you see how it comes back up. So if I turn that release down, bring it up a bit. You don't want it to be so. Now I've exaggerated that, but that is the type of process you can use. If you can't get two things to mix together very well, then you can kind of duck the other one. And sidechaining is, that was the main use for it when it was kind of the idea of sidechaining came about. So that's what I have for you today on sidechaining, and I hope you've learned something from that. But mainly for your kick and bass relationship, you want to duck the bass out of the way and let the kick play. And yeah, that's everything I've got. And again, just check out my online shop that I've just opened. The link is in the description. And please like and subscribe to these videos so I can make more. I want to make more presets, more samples, more courses, and I want basically my sounds to get out into the world for you guys to use them. And I just want to create great producers. I want a lot of good stuff to come from this channel. So yeah, keep an eye out for the next video, and I'll catch you in the next one.